I understand that I could be wrong. I understand that I'm not sure about anything. There's a possibility that you're right and I'm completely wrong. I'm just not sure of my humanity as a man. Some folk love that kind of a creature. I would say that we desire these men to be lovable and sensitive and kind and soft in every way that they can. Oh, invite him to the party. He's so soft. He's so kind. He'll do whatever you ask him to do. He won't question anything. He's the world's kind of a man. Every woman would love to have him around. He's so handsome, so good to look at. And if you ever did anything wrong, he'd never tell you because he doesn't want to mess up anything. He's my kind of a man. That is a feminized man. That is a man that the world controls. That is a man that no real woman wants. Women, you ought to say what? Amen. Thank you. You shouldn't want no man like that. No. They want this kind of a man to make us feel safe and giddy. He's a kind of a non-male politically, religiously, and he is so much of that correct kind of individual. I'm telling you, he's a 90s kind of man. He's so nice and gentle. He's so tamed and timid. He's the kind that we want to be with us because you never know that he's a man until he goes into the men's room. That's the only thing that differentiates him from a woman is that he goes into the men's room to relieve himself. Other than that, he's just some kind of feminized kind of creature that's just been into the whole system. And I would say that most people today have never really seen a man. Let me give you another quote. Stephen B. Clark made this statement. He was speaking about the feminized man and the masculine male. And I'm quoting, "Compared to men who have not been feminized," and I would say that's one like me, "he, that is the feminized male, will place a much higher emphasis and attention on how he feels and how other people feel." Let me stop right here. That's not the whole quote. So, in other words, this man places the emphasis on, well, I can't do this because they may feel bad. Clark goes on and says he will place a much higher emphasis and attention on how he feels and how other people feel. He will be much more gentle and handle situations in a very soft way. He will be much more subject to the approval of the group, especially emotionally expressed approval. He will sometimes tend to relate by preference to women and other feminized or effeminate men, and he will sometimes have a difficult time with an all-male group, quote unquote. Now, I'm not saying that at times we men are not feminized men, because we must be. If you go to another outside group and everybody is acting a fool and everything, you don't have to play up to it, but if they ask you to blast it, and if you know that blasting it, you never work again, and it would keep your mouth shut. It takes a man to know when to speak up. We spoke about that earlier. But a feminized male is one that's just, when the homosexuals come in with their agenda, well, brother, I don't agree with your lifestyle, but you have just as much right to have a life as I do. When they come in and when they want to, come in and be around you and come and teach your children in the classroom and stuff like that, you become that feminized male when you say, well, everybody else is going along with it, so I'm going along with it, so I can't even let my opinion be known. Then you're a feminized male. I didn't say that you're effeminate. You are a feminized male. That is what this society is trying to do to men. They're trying to push you into a corner, and so you won't even make a logical decision on your own. That is not the kind of men that God is pleased with at all. So we would admit that we are living in a day and age to where these characteristics abound in the lives of men and even in our community, even in our Christian community. That is why you find pastors and people in leadership positions weak and vacillating from one position to the next because they become that feminized kind of man. And I'm not talking about homosexuality. This has nothing to do with wanting another man. It has to do with the way the man thinks and the man does his life as he lives in a man and a lady world. There are males and females, and men, I'm talking to you because you need to learn how to respond to a man the way a man should respond to a man and not to respond like a feminized male. So the question is, how does a boy become a man? That's what we're dealing with. How do we get out of this boy mentality into the man mentality? Well, in my studies this week, from reading from a particular text, I gained some important insight concerning this subject. And we're going to take you to some passage of scriptures that can help you idealize in this area. Number one in your outline, and you have it there right before you, and it says it right there, I believe it says how to break away. Well, it says the passage, first of all, man has to take some passage, and it's the passage from mothers to fathers. That's what we're going to talk about. Boys remain boys because they remain in a mommy mentality. So I've got to get you guys through a passage here. We're going to take you this morning from the mothers to the fathers. Tonight in the lecture, we're going to take you from the fathers to the mentor. Thursday night of the men's studies, from the mentor to the master. So all this week, for all you men, we are teaching you how to be a man. You do not come out to the studies. I'm not going to repeat this. I'm taking you on a journey. I'm going to give you the way, and it's going to work. And you'll never have this dilemma again. Now, I've given you the times we're going to meet. I'm not going to talk about it again if I don't see you. Go ahead with your bad selves, brothers. There's a very natural tendency during childhood for a boy to identify with his mother. It is natural for a boy to identify with his mother. I was thinking about a lady that I met. She was coming to church with her, with these two young men. I don't see a man coming in with those boys. They have to identify with their mother. It's a very natural tendency. I'm not trying to say don't identify. I'm trying to say that becomes a danger when it's time for you to move on. This is good. And remember, this is very normal. Why is it normal? Because a nurturing process is developed during this time. Nurturing is developed between the mother and the son, especially if there's no father there. Emotional stability is secured while this takes place. It is natural for a boy to bond with his mother. It is very natural. As a matter of fact, I thank God for mothers that have raised their sons because there has not been a man. Somebody needs to say amen to that. Amen. These women spend all their lives raising these boys, raising them, struggling with them. And where's daddy? He's out somewhere looking for another woman to go to bed with, to make some more illegitimacy. Totally irresponsible. Let's stop ragging on the women. I'm looking at these boys out here making babies, and they're not taking responsibility for that kind of behavior. And then when the mama got to raise these babies in the project, no income, can't hardly make life work, she's going crazy, and the boy's getting in trouble, and bring them to church, and guess what? The church is supposed to be building male mentors to take these boys with no fathers and be substitution daddies for these irresponsible bums that won't take care of their seed floating down the rivers. The young years, my friend, the young years. That's where the male sees the benefit and the worth of the female when he is in a healthy environment. So it's good for him to be raised by that female, especially if that's all he has. It's good for him to see a healthy Christian female woman struggle with life to bring up that male as a boy. This becomes a time to differentiate, while he's with his mother, between the sexes, and rightly so. When that boy is raised by that woman, he can differentiate what a female is. But you know what the problem is? He don't see what a male is. He doesn't see what a male is. He doesn't know how to be a man. He doesn't know how to be challenged. He doesn't know how to be put to the quick. He doesn't know when to stop. That's why when he goes further with his gang mentality and his hatred and everything, there's been no man to embrace him, to put a cap on all of that energy. So he moves on from a boy to a so-called man and is out of his mind. At a particular point in that growth and development, this bond between mother must be severed. It must be cut off. There's a point in the boy's life where he has to say, I can't deal with mother anymore. I've got to find out what I'm all about. But how am I going to do it? This is what we're going to discuss today. Why? Because his emotional bond becomes dangerous then. He has this emotional bond with his mother. Now that becomes a dangerous thing, because that blocks his path to manhood. It is being hampered and pampered. You know it, ladies, because that's what you do. You pamper the little boy. Oh, don't mess with my boy. Oh, no, boy, you can't go to the park. You may fall down and hurt yourself. He's supposed to fall down and hurt himself. He's supposed to come home all dirty and stinky and messed up. He's supposed to do things that little boys do. He's supposed to experiment in his world.